Okay, and we are ready to go. Thank you all for being here. I'd like to go ahead and call to order the Charles Village Civic Association General Meeting for January. We have a full agenda. And as we're going through this, if I could remind everyone to please try to stay on mute unless you're talking. I'll try to do a little traffic control here as I can in between speakers. And again, we are recording and we always make these available for the general public and those who were unable to attend the meeting. So with that, I am going to get started, and I know that we have Leah Lynch, our community liaison to the mayor's office, and want to open the floor for you to give us any updates and announcements.
Good morning, good evening. Oh my goodness, it's been a long day. Hello to everyone. I hope that you all are doing well, to you and your families. I know it's been a heavy week, so I hope everyone's doing all right. I don't have anything this week. Today, I do want to make the announcement about the ARPA town hall that will be coming up on February the 8th. They're going to be talking about more about how the funds are going to be used on any planned investments for the city's recovery, and all are welcome. There will be a portion where you will be able to send your questions and comments to the mayor, and he will respond while he's online. Again, that information is February the 8th at 6 p.m. and it will be live streamed from the mayor's Facebook page. Other than that, I do not have anything else coming from the mayor's office today. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Okay, I don't see any. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, as always.
I have on the agenda now that we would have reports from our council people, and I know that they're always going in between meetings. So as usual, we're going to be flexible, and I will bring them in as they get here. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the Northern District. Sergeant McBride, are you here?
Not a sergeant yet.
Oh, sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. How's everybody doing tonight? Officer McBride from the Northern District Community Unit. I'm just going to go over some quick stats with you all, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. From December 26th to January 22nd, you all had 9 robberies, 8 aggravated assaults, 9 burglaries, 9 larcenies, 4 auto thefts, with a total Part 1 crimes of 39 and property crimes of 22 and violent crimes 17. And reading over this, it went up by your total Part 1 crimes went up 73%, and violent crimes went up 14%, and property crimes went up 15%. And that's pretty much all I have for you all. Any questions? No? Yes?
I'm not seeing any in the chat. Anyone have any questions for Northern District?
Yes, I do, Miller. I just need the officer to please repeat the part crimes descriptions along with the percentage increases.
Part 1 crimes, you had 39 of them. It went up 17%. Violent crimes, you had 17, they went up 14%. Property crimes, you had 22, they went up 3%.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Northern District? Okay, well, thank you so much, Officer McBride. We will keep on moving here. Got a quiet group tonight. I'm going to now turn it over to Christina Williams and Ron Brooks from the Charles Village Community Benefits District.
So I'm sorry, I wasn't quite prepared to speak so soon. So Ron, can you jump in first and then I'll follow up? Thank you.
Sure. So I'm going to go over 3 different things real quick here. Item 1, regarding vacant houses and squatters. So if anyone is aware of this particular issue in your particular neighborhood, please let our office know. There are resources that we can plug into to help alleviate that situation. We're working on a couple of them right now, where they're obvious squatters in houses, and obviously the folks who live in that particular block are concerned that things like fires and overdoses might actually occur. So we're working on those to try to alleviate that problem. With regard to the fire that occurred on January 5th, West 22nd Street, I spoke with commanders at the Northern District, and with respect to that investigation, I'm told that we should be prepared to wait months, not weeks, for some conclusion as to how that particular fire started. There are multiple agencies involved in that investigation, including ATF. So that's going to take some time to sort itself out. Moving on, the issue of homeless in our community. Obviously, if you see anyone who appears to be sleeping outside, the temperatures this year, unlike the last few years, have been pretty brutal at night. So if you see folks outside, you should contact 311, and obviously if they're closed, you should contact 911. Obviously, if it's an ongoing issue involving someone who appears to be living outside, feel free again to contact our office, and we have some resources that we can try to plug those folks into. And then finally, just a reminder, use of cell phones while sitting in cars in front of your home or place of business is probably a really bad idea, particularly during evening hours. Folks tend to be sort of monitoring that type of activity, and they take advantage of that. That's where some of these carjackings were coming from. They observed folks using cell phones while sitting in their car, not paying attention to their surroundings, and they simply took advantage of those things. So if we could, if you're going to use a cell phone, particularly during evening hours, probably better to use them indoors and not while sitting outside in the car. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Ron. And I just want to acknowledge in the chat that we had a couple questions about where do we report the vacant properties, and Christina was able to reply that we can use the safety form on the CVCBD website or email you directly, ronald@charlesvillage.org. And then we just had I think a procedural thought. If we have someone who's experiencing housing insecurity, I'm sure this is what we always do anyway, that we aren't necessarily calling 911, but we're trying to connect them with the resources, be it some sort of shelter or some other resources through, I guess it's actually 311, I think is how you get a hold of that.
Yes, that's how we would do it. My concern would be simply, let's say tonight you happen to be riding in the neighborhood and it's 11 or 1 a.m. and you notice someone appears to be sleeping outside. It may be tough to get a hold of those resources at that particular hour. Clearly, we're not in our office, so you can't call us. So probably your best option at that point would be to contact 311 up until 10, which that's when they close, and then obviously 911 after that. Even if we're not getting the response that we would like to have from those particular sources, I would still like to have the fact that we're documenting that we are requesting those services from the city so that there's a record of it.
Okay, thank you, Ron. And I just want to acknowledge that we have both of our council persons here, and I'm going to let CVCBD finish up, and then we'll go back to the top of the agenda and get their report outs and continue on. Christina, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Sorry, everyone, for the delay, but good evening. Wanted to update you all on several different things that are happening within the benefits district this year. One, it is time for us once again to discuss our budget. Our budget every year goes through a process of the board evaluating a draft budget, presenting it to the community, and then approving it before sending it off to the city for final approval. We are in the beginning stages of that process, and the board will be evaluating a draft budget next month. So in the months of March and April, you can expect to hear from the community to make sure, from us and your representatives. You can expect to hear from us about feedback from the community about what we're proposing. We are engaging with a third party to help with surveying this year, just to make sure that we are getting as much feedback as possible, but then also removing any possible bias from us having our hands involved in it and making sure that everyone feels comfortable responding as they would like to. So that's going to be a process that you'll be hearing much more from us about, because we do want to hear from as many people as possible on that. And then also, and then that process is going to be posted on our website so that you can always go back to that and refer to the timeline. So that's going to be laid out on our website. We'll be having community meetings in April, as we've done in the past couple of years. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that our safety survey, we finally completed taking in responses from our safety survey. One thing that I will note is that even though we received nearly 200 responses, that is not a complete representation of our community as a whole. And then the breakdown of the demographics also was not really a representation of our community. So we're missing a lot of folks that we're not connecting to, and we're going to continue to do the best that we can to reach those individuals that we're not hearing from on a regular basis. And with that said, wanted to mention that on the call tonight is our new program manager, Rajanice Thompson. She's been with us for several months now as a community fellow, as an AmeriCorps fellow focused on community safety and justice. And so she's been helping us think through a lot of different things in the way that we provide our programming currently. And we're really excited for the capacity that she's going to be bringing to our organization to expand our outreach, also to provide more education, also to expand the resources that we have. She's already jumped in on a couple of grants and thinking through our ambassador program, which is the next thing on my list. Currently, our ambassador program is, the application is available to anyone who's interested in applying. The way we're thinking about this program is it's not an opportunity for groups of people to control the information that's being disseminated to the community, rather than to just help us with disseminating it. Because as I mentioned before, we're not reaching everyone. And everyone has different experiences, everyone has different networks, but the hope is that individuals who are either living or working in the area are willing to take part in the courses that we're going to be offering, which extend from 311 training, how to report things on 311 and maybe even follow up on those things, to mental health first aid, how to recognize when someone is in a challenge or crisis. But the goal really is that we have people who are educated about resources across the city and within the community. So if anyone in your neighborhood should express that they're in need of something, that you have the resource, you have the information to share with everyone who is within your immediate area. And then the goal is that we start having more community events where people get to know one another and have the ability to engage with each other and build relationships with their neighbors. So that's really the goal of the ambassador program. It also helps us build out a database of volunteers. So when there are opportunities for us to table at different events or to just maybe do some canvassing, we have a group of folks who are in our database who have signed up, who are willing to participate in that way. So I'm going to ask Rajanice to put the link to that in the chat. And if you're interested, please apply, or if you know someone who may be interested, please share. The other thing that I'll mention that goes along with the work that we're doing, the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services is right now accepting registration for volunteers to do the point in time count. So we are all noticing that there are more individuals who are experiencing housing insecurity in our community and have been for the last several years. And it's really important for the city, in order for it to have the resources that it should have, to every year go through the process to do a point in time count. So on February 26th, which is a Saturday, volunteers all across the city will be going out and serving those individuals who are at that time living on the street. So it's not for those who are couch surfing, which we know still goes towards housing insecurity, or individuals maybe who are sleeping in their car. It's really street homelessness that we're counting at that time. The benefits district outreach team is going to be participating in that. And if any individuals in this neighborhood are interested in participating, we'll make sure to get that to everyone too. It's very important that we do, that the city itself gets this done, because it's required by the federal government in order to receive some of those resources. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything else. I know that was a ton, and I'm so sorry. I'm always like bombarding you all with a ton of information at one time. I will recommend that if you have not already, please sign up for our District Dish, which is a bi-weekly newsletter. Over the holidays, we were a little slow with getting it out. So we did have one earlier this month, and we expect to have one before the end of the month as well. And we usually have information in there around community events, so other opportunities to participate and get to know your neighbors, or to work with a community organization that's doing some great work. There's also safety tips. We also make sure to put the safety data that we disseminate on a monthly basis in that newsletter, along with anything else that's important for you to know. So I would hope if you can go to our website, it's on the main page. You can also see on our website videos for this month's meetings, the Safety Advisory Council meeting, which I know happens during the middle of the day, so not everyone can participate. And this month's board meeting is also there under community events. As always, if you need me for anything, you're more than welcome to reach me. I'll put my email in the chat as well. But continue to looking forward to working with you all over this course of this year, because there is a lot going on. And we hope to continue to work on your behalf to make this neighborhood safe and clean.
And Christina, you put the website in the chat too?
I sure will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Christina, we had a question about the February 26th surveying. Is there a website? The question in particular was, is the exclusion of those sleeping in cars or on couches a federal policy? And obviously this isn't your program. And if there's a website we can direct people to find out more information, that'd be great.
I will verify the information, but my understanding is that it is specific. The federal guidelines is that it's specific to street homelessness.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Any
You're
other
welcome.
questions for Christina? Okay. Then I will now turn the floor over to Councilman Stokes for the 12th District report.
Mr. President, I always give my colleague, my mother taught me, ladies are first. So I'm going to give that to my colleague, Councilwoman Odette Romo first.
I will put a note. I went by numerical order, so I will make a note for future. Thank you, sir.
No, you all right. You good. You can leave it there, but I'm going to keep doing it like that. So maybe you want to change it. Thank you.
Did we?
Thank you. I'm here. Yeah, thank you, Councilman. Really appreciate it. It's always great to work with you as well. Hi, everybody. Great to be here. I have a couple of things, just some quick announcements. I don't know if Jermaine from DPW is here, if she'll be talking about recycling. I don't see her. So I'll talk about it real quick. You all got the notice about A week and B week recycling, just for now, it's not forever. You all got your bins, right? You got your bins. We're excited about our recycling bins. So we will, so all of Charles Village is on the A week. So you didn't get recycling this week, but you will next week. They've also added drop-off centers. So on the off week, you can go to Mervo and there will be a recycling truck there that will take recycling. And of course, you can always go to Sisson because Sisson is always open. So those are your options for recycling that you may not have. And then there's still, I think if Leah's here, she'll talk about, we do have rental assistance still available. If there's anybody who is still behind on rent or just about to be behind on rent because of COVID, please let's, get you some help on getting, we have so much money left that we want to spend. So please contact one of us and we can get you the rental assistance that you need. The other night I had a town hall about Greenmount Avenue and all the great updates that are happening. You can go to my website, odetterammos.com, and you can see the video, or you can go to YouTube and you can see the video if you're interested in all of the great updates with what's happening on Greenmount Avenue. They should be finished with the streetscaping this year, which is very exciting. We are waiting right now for the weather to improve and also for BGE to get out of there. So, and then we'll see. And then they need to give us they're going to do the new fixtures and the poles and things like that. So that's exciting. Oh, so can you trade your bins in? Yes, you can. You have to call 311 to get a smaller bin and trade that in. So anybody who wants a smaller bin, I don't know, now with every other, I definitely need that big bin. So that's important. I was asked to do a traffic calming update, and I apologize. I did not get a chance to talk with the councilman before checking in with DOT. DOT, and they did announce it at our council meeting the other day, that they are tweaking their policies around how we're going to be doing traffic calming moving forward. You no longer have to get the sign off from the community president. And you can call 311 directly. We of course always get the notices about what's happening. So and they're also putting an equity lens on where these traffic calming pieces will happen. So first the layer is, how many traffic fatalities and how many accidents are on an intersection, crashes are on an intersection. And then after that is equity. So all of the projects are getting sort of reorganized around that lens. And so we'll see where our projects that we've asked for fit into that. I'm supposed to be getting a report of all of the things that are happening in the district and the order that it's going to be happening. So when we get that, we'll let you know. We still don't have a solid update on when we're going to get the lights retimed, and maybe the councilman has a better update than I do on when the lights are going to be retimed and the traffic treatment that we wanted on 29th and St. Paul. So I know that's just super disappointing. I'm disappointed as well, unless of course the councilman has a better surprise for us. But we will get back to everybody about what's going on with the traffic calming across the district as soon as we get those reports from DOT. Jennifer?
Yeah, let me see if I can put on my video. Sorry about that. I'm just curious if you can help us understand a little bit more. I mean, I understand just where we are in the citywide pecking order and why. It would be nice to know, for example, we have a lot of crashes. We have crashes, serious crashes every month. Luckily, we have very few fatalities, but it shouldn't lead to that for us to actually get things fixed. So yeah, it would be really nice for us to understand where we are in the pecking order and why, because then then we can be more intelligent on how we approach this.
Exactly. And that's what I've asked for my entire district, to understand where things are and what order they're coming in and what the issue is. One thing that We also need to do is just look up the 911 data for the corners that you're concerned about, because that's also an advocacy point to
Okay.
make sure, hey, you know, we're getting, these are crashes. We don't want them to be fatal. We don't want it to be that go that way. So
We don't.
yeah, so we'll check in on the 911 data for that one corner, and if you've got others, let both of us know. And then that obviously crash data is the best data, and that's the 911 data. But that's what I've asked for, is like, where is everything that I've asked for the last year in the pecking order, and all the stuff left over from Councilwoman Clark, like, where is that? And so I'm supposed to be getting that report, and I didn't get it in time for tonight. So I'll certainly send it out with my newsletter. We may end up having a town hall about it, you know, that kind of stuff. So I know
Thank
it's a
you.
grave concern here in Charles Village. So I understand, and I apologize that again, the councilman might have a better update, but I don't have much better to talk about there.
That's fine. Thank you.
The last thing is I have a newsletter that some of you are subscribed to. I have a newsletter that comes out on Mondays, so you can send me an email if you want to be on the newsletter. We have updates about everything. And if you have stuff that you want me to put in the newsletter, just in the email newsletter, just let me know. We used to do our town halls every Wednesday. In the pandemic, that was great, but now everybody's got a lot of other stuff going on. So we're going to do them monthly. And I don't have a topic for February yet, but we'll certainly let you know. We are going to be doing at least 2 town halls about the budget. So just stay tuned for those as well. I think I was late to the meeting, but you probably talked a lot about the tragedy that happened on Monday. I have to say, I take this very seriously because I've been working for 30 years on trying to address vacant properties in the city and the state. And the fact that we still haven't made headway on this issue is very frustrating to me. So I'm very upset about it. I will be visiting our Greenmount Avenue firehouse tomorrow, and my Hamden one as well. But just keep all their families in prayer and in your thoughts, because it's a rough time for them for right now. And I've redoubled my efforts, and we'll be introducing a bunch of vacant property legislation very soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't think we have any outstanding questions in the chat. Does anyone have any other questions before we move on? Okay, Councilman Stokes.
Thank you. My colleague did talk about the traffic calm, and I just want to go right there right now, because if you look at Calvin, 23rd Street, they had so many accidents there. I was able about 2 years ago to get a traffic light. Well, on Biddle and Bond Street, last summer, the police was chasing this young kids, I guess, and they ran into a lady that lives in that block. They hit her car. She flew out the car and landed on the ground, and she died. So today was very fortunate that we got a signal light there. It's flashing right now, but 2 weeks from the day, that's another signal light that we put in there, because that actual corner had 47 reported accidents. Broadway going north and south and Preston Street, they had some cameras put in there, because there's a house on the corner of Broadway and Preston. The cars ran into the lady's house like 5 times, and she just went in the house once. So they put some cameras there going north on Broadway from North Avenue. From, let's say, Madison Street to North Avenue. From January to December, they gave out 2,000 tickets. Going south from Broadway back to Madison Street, 2,200 tickets. Going up Preston Street, crossing Broadway, 800 tickets. And the reason why I'm saying that, because of that pandemic and people wasn't really on the street, everybody in a hurry, they going through red lights, they don't care. So I explained to constituents that just because they put a signal light there, I'm sure y'all have been around people, you in a lane, they go around you and go through the red light. So, those kind of traffic calming and signal light don't always work, because people just haven't changed their driving habits. Also, and I can send it out to President Miller and Christine. I'm having quarterly hearings with the school system to talk about, the the pandemic and this starts next month, but it's going to be quarterly. I'm also doing a hearing for Rec and Parks on their strategic 2025 plan, and also doing some meetings with MOED to find out how youth works, how that's working, how we get our young people involved in working. And we know we had a lot of shootings and crime here in Baltimore. It's been going on. So August of last year, I introduced a resolution about creating a gun court, and I keep saying this, even though that has to come through the state. I'm now talking to some judges because I understand the judges are the ones that can actually want to see that happen. Because if you look at how we have rent court, we got people go to child support for court and only deal with those kind of cases. But when you talk about gun cases, not homicides, because of the pandemic, you got court dates been pushed back 2-3 months. So if somebody get arrested for a legal gun, they might go to court in June or something, or they send them a letter in June, and then they might not have another hearing, until December. The idea of the court, gun court, is to have a faster process, and I'm pushing it out, but I'm actually talking to some judges now because I have to talk to them, and I have to talk to our state colleagues also. And real quick, on the traffic calming, Councilor Odette, the last time I talked to them, they had one engineer. The city had one engineer. Because when we did the traffic calming with up on 20 St. Paul, and I think it's 28, 29, the engineer was there, but he said he was the only engineer that the city has. So I got to go back and check to see if they have any more. So you're talking about the whole city, and you're talking about changing the timing, and you only have one person. That's almost virtually impossible when they're going to get to it. So I'll check back with that also. So that is my information that I'm giving out now. If anybody have any questions, I'm right here.
Right, I don't see any questions in the chat. Anybody have any questions? The only thing while I'm waiting for someone to raise their hand, just to put on your radar and Councilwoman's radar, you know, we have those couple of blocks. It's 300 block of Whitridge and Guilford. And those lights have been out for several nights. I haven't walked the dogs tonight, but I've noticed the last couple of nights they've been out again. And there's got to be something wrong, something there somewhere that it's every couple of weeks. They go out, they stay out for a while, then they come back on it. Just any pressure we can do to get BGE to have a faster response time when the system fails again would be great.
Well, I think that's what my colleague was talking about. BG&E can be slow, but also I don't know if Major Short is on here. We can work with him and try to get the tower lights through the city DOT and see if we can get something temporary until those other lights get on. And we don't have a whole lot of them, so.
For the record, I don't want to be the one to order the tower lights. I know everyone screams at me.
Oh, because they too bright.
They're too bright, so I'm not going to be the one to ask. If it were my block in my house,
I ain't gonna touch that one then.
Right. Just I'll let someone else who lives on that block.
Can you just email me the blocks, the lights out, and we'll go from there.
Yep, definitely.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would just like to recognize that we have Delegate Boyce who has joined us, and I know that you're in session. And before we move on to our next topic, Delegate Boyce, anything that you wanted to announce?
Not so much. I'm just being nosy and check in before I turn down for the evening. I've been going all evening. If you are on my newsletter, I'll be sending updates about essentially the budget, especially comparing the governor's budget to what the actual budget is. I mean, we will have a surplus this year, but one of the things that the governor has not fully funded, which given our surplus can be and will be funded in infinity, is the blueprint for Maryland's future. His budget leaves out Baltimore City and Prince George's County funding for the schools, and it's not cool. So we're going to spend a big chunk of the session fighting to make sure that our financial priorities are taken care of, that Baltimore City and Prince George's County, of course, are taken care of, but we have enough money at this point to actually fund the blueprint for Maryland's future. Indefinitely, as well as there are some tax cuts proposed. But while that sounds attractive, we know if we cut too many taxes, it means we cut revenue. And if we cut revenue, it means that we cannot spend and pay for things like the blueprint and other priorities. So it's going to be a great balancing act this session. But I am anxious to sending that all out to you guys so you can see it and understand, but most importantly, have a balance between what our executive says and what our legislative body knows what's going on in our state, especially our state's finances. And so I'll be sending that out. I've got more bills than I would like to talk about at this point, but again, I'm happy to communicate to you when there's an appropriate time to talk about all those things. But I'm really just here to listen and lend an ear or a voice when I can if something comes up.
Thank you, and you're always welcome to join our meetings. With that, I would like to move forward and turn the floor over to Darnell Wharton from the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office. Darnell.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Miller, for having me. How is everyone doing on this cold night? We are inside, but somebody's outside freezing right now, and I wish that we could get them some warmth because it's crazy out there. My name is Darnell Wharton. I am the community liaison for the State's Attorney's Office in the Northern District. I got into this position June of last year. And basically, in a nutshell, I am the conduit between the State's Attorney's Office and the residents of Northern District, and the voice of the residents of Northern District back to the office. So what does that mean? That means that everything that happens in the office, as far as our programs, resources, what we're doing, what we're trying to do, what all her plans and things that she has for the city of Baltimore, I am the person that comes and conveys that type of all of that information to the residents of Northern District. Then on the other side, any feedback, questions, complaints, anything that the residents of Northern District have for the State's Attorney's Office, I take those concerns and all of that back to the office to say, hey, this is what they're saying, this is what the residents, this is what the neighborhoods, this is what the community associations, this is what the businesses, this is what the churches, everything in Northern District, this is what they're asking and saying in the district, and they want to know how we're handling what we need to handle in the State's Attorney's Office. What answers do you have for them? And I bring that back to the residents. I work for them, but I also work for you. So I'm kind of a double agent when it comes to how we are advocating for public safety in the Northern District. Anytime you have a question, anytime you need something, anytime you want to talk about what's going on in your neighborhood and next door, if it's anything about public safety and crime and everything, please let me know. If you want to know what's going on, or how can the State Attorney's Office help, please let me know so I can take that back to them. And I may have the answer for you right then and there, but if I don't have the answer, I will always tell you, let me research that and get back to you, because follow-up is a huge thing when it comes to community engagement, especially with me. One of the things that I know that over the past since I've been here, one of the huge things that people are talking about is the low-level policies that our State's Attorney's Office is not prosecuting. The first thing I want to say to you equivocally is the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office does prosecute crime. We always prosecute gun offenses, drug sales, assaults, any violent or victim crime, as carjacking, rape, homicide, armed robbery, assault. We are still prosecuting those type of crimes. If somebody says people out here drug dealing, shooting, we are prosecuting drug dealers. When we catch them, we prosecute them, we put them in jail. The low-level offenses, drug possession, which is not the same as drug sales or drug dealing, prostitution, open container, those type of things that she's not prosecuting. She actually did a town hall tour this summer. She did a chat and chew tour this summer. We had one in Northern District We've had a prayer walk in Northern District that I put together. She talked about these low-level policies that she's not prosecuting simply because, one, there's no public safety value based on the data that comes back about these crimes. Two, it is very counterproductive to the limited resource that we have in the police department. Right now, we are somewhere north of 400 officers still needed to be put on the streets of Baltimore City. And three, the minor offenses that are being enforced are discriminately enforced to Black and brown people in our disenfranchised areas. There are increased resources dedicated to the prosecution of violent and victim crimes, and a reduction in police interactions for offenses have proven to be enforced. So those are the reasons why she's not prosecuting those low-level offenses. And there was a report done by John Hopkins that shows that people who commit these low-level offenses don't go on, and if they don't get arrested, they don't go to jail. They don't go on to do higher crimes, because what we're trying to do is we try to give them resources. We try to put them in and get them help, get them mental help, anything that they need that they have. This is why she's not prosecuting those. Another thing that I do that I want to give information to is community court watch, and that's what any crime that is happening in your district, in your neighborhood, on your street, on your block, in your church, wherever a crime is happening in Northern District, we have what we call community court watch. And what that is we have an app for it, and we also have a website where you can go onto this app and go onto this website, and you will see all the crimes that happen in the area. When you go to the website, you'll see a map. You can widen the map to Northern District and click on any of those little dots, and it'll tell you the crime, if somebody was caught, when their court date is, and if the court date is passed, if it was rescheduled, or what was the outcome. So what kind of time did they get? Did they get probation and everything? If it's not on that website and you know of a crime and you want to know whether or not somebody a suspect was arrested, and it's not on there, please let me know, because I am also that person that can let you know about that information. I am a son of Northern District. I lived in Woodburn, McCade for a while. I went to City, I went to Morgan, so I'm a Northern guy. So when I got this district, I was happy because I'm going back home with my people, and this is where it is. I am here for any question that you have. I put my information in the chat, and also I know some people here may receive my email, but I do a weekly email about what's going on in the office. And if you want to be on that email distribution list, please send me your email address here in the chat, or you can email me email address. My email I'll put into the chat so I can get you on that weekly email, and you can see what's going on. I talk about a lot of things. I put in articles for people to read, and I try to keep people abreast of what's going on in the state's attorney's office, and also try to get feedback from the residents. So that is me.
Okay, thank you, Darnell. And I think that there is an item for you to respond to offline in the chat. I don't think that's something for the group. Anyone have any questions for Darnell? Okay, I don't see any. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, I'm going to turn the floor over to JHU. We have Jennifer Milkey and Lee Coyle here to talk about the row homes on 29th Street. And let me pause for 1 second, because I don't want anyone to feel that they're being dismissed. And the additional response was, why aren't we addressing it? It seems to have to do with an incident that happened at an event. Darnell does not appear to be involved in that incident, so I'm sure he needs to go back and find out what happened and can't respond. But Darnell, would you just make sure that I'm right?
Well, if I can recall, there were two individuals that came to the Chat and Chew, and I think one of the individuals, well, they both came and they weren't on the list of people the people that responded, and one of them I guess, said something about Keith Davis. And what we were trying to do is we were trying to keep, I guess, keep it positive. And when they were questioned about how they found out about it, they said they found out about it another way, but come to find out they found about it a different way. And I think what happened was between Zy Richardson and Reginald, they talked to them, I think, for maybe about a half an hour or so, and came to a conclusion that those gentlemen had to leave. That's the best I could say.
Sure. And if you can maybe privately message those individuals, or you're going to drop your email into the chat for everyone, then you guys can continue that conversation. I see a hand from Brian Beverly. Was your question for Darnell?
Yes, it was. Basically, as we understand that low-level crimes will not be prosecuted, then what advice would you give residents who don't want sex workers in the neighborhood?
Excellent question. Thank you, Brian, for that question. So always, we have a partnership with the police department. And how it's supposed to look is if there's sex workers in your neighborhood that you don't want there, you are to call, you can still call the police. The police are supposed to come and also contact the many resources and organizations that we have partnerships with. And police can ask them to leave, but also, hey, this is the resources that we have, that we partner with the city, with the mayor's department, and with the police department to say, hey, if you have to leave this area, but here is what we could do to help you out. We're not going to arrest you, but these are the resources you have, hopefully, to if you want to, you want to get help some other type of way, this is what we're doing to help. That's the best. The police department is supposed to come out when you give them a call. What we have been experiencing is that officers have not been responding to residents calling when they want sex workers moved out of their neighborhood. So I think that I know that there are meetings happening between the state attorney's office and the commissioner to better get that process done.
All right, thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. I understand that you're offering resources to the sex workers, but I think just to kind of balance the scales, the residents will like resources offered to them, that if you're not going to arrest them, you're not going to prosecute them, there needs to be some of the mechanism by which, the resources are offered to people who actually provide the tax base and also pay for the benefits in the district, that we not be prisoners in our own neighborhoods. That if we don't want sex workers, folks who don't live in the neighborhood, they don't pay taxes, they don't live there, they should not have the right, they should not impinge upon our freedom and sell their wares on our streets. So if you're not, obviously the policy is not to arrest them, not to prosecute them, but certainly to the extent that if you offer resources to the sex workers, we're just asking that to balance the scales, please offer us some resources so that way we can deter that behavior from happening in our communities. Thank you.
Most definitely, Brian. And I think the resource that you're looking for is coming from the police department, because it's as what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to engage with the sex worker and say, hey, we need to move you away from this out of this neighborhood, and we don't want you to come back. And what's happening is we're not getting that type of engagement on a daily basis from the police department. So we're trying to figure out what has to happen with the police department to actually take those calls and then engage in that part.
Darnell, I would like to move this to our Safety and Security Committee. Brian,
Sure.
I think that, we can dig into this some more. CVCBD has done some work on this, because it sounds like we have some topics that we should explore, right? And then to make sure that also that we are doing what's in the best interest of everyone. If we can do that, Brian, if we can push this forward and maybe get a meeting together, I'd appreciate it. Okay. I am going to turn the floor over now to JHU to talk about a topic that I think I was surprised when Jennifer reminded me that it was a year ago when we talked about the row homes. on 29th Street. And they have a presentation to talk about the plans that are gonna go forward.
Yeah, thank you, Miller, appreciate it. Jennifer Melky, the Director of Local Government Community Affairs for Johns Hopkins University of Medicine. I'm going to turn over to my colleague Lee Coyle, who's going to run through a presentation, but it was October in 2020 that we presented on this particular topic. And so Lee's going to walk you all through an update. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Lee. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Miller, can I share my screen?
You should be good to go. I think I changed the
All right.
setup appropriately.
Okay, let me see what happens. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Great. All right, thank you. Okay, so as Miller said, Jennifer Milkey, Director of Local Community Affairs. My name is Lee Coyle, Senior Director of Planning and Architecture, of course, for both at Johns Hopkins University. We just want to give you an update today, and I want to start off with just a locator map for those who might not have been part of this conversation back in October of 2020. We're talking about the addresses of 5 through 19 on West 29th Street. The little yellow box you see is the location of those row homes. And of course, the Dell House is here. This is 29th Street. It's right across from the Wyman Park Dell. And of course, here's the Baltimore Museum of Art and Charles Village, just for everyone's understanding of the location. As we had said previously, these buildings are uninhabitable. They are structurally unstable. We know there is an issue with rodents and pests, and of course, dumping and graffiti, and homeless often frequent this site. We have received 6 violations and 3 monetary penalties about the conditions of these properties from the city of Baltimore. So just quickly to go back to that meeting on October 29th, 2020, where we first presented this, we were asked to do several things. One of the things that was in progress were improvements to the Dell House. Some of these were safety issues and others were simply cosmetic issues. So as of May 1st of 2021, we've actually completed the requested repairs. We straightened and opened all the blinds, which was a pretty easy thing to do to give a consistent look at the building. We actually frosted the glass of the view on the first floor to the interior lobby of the space. We cleaned up the entrance foyer. This is a picture of that. This is before that work was done. And there was a knee wall on Charles Street that we repaired. Most importantly, we actually relamped everything on the exterior to provide safety lighting to make this a safer environment in the evening. We had filed a permit. We hadn't finalized that application. We put that on pause after hearing the concerns of the community. One of the concerns we heard was that we should look to salvage as much as possible out of these row homes before they're demolished. So we contacted 2 salvage companies, Second Chance and Brick and Board, talked to them about that. There is interest. Some of the things they're interested in are fireplace mantles, some of the doors within the buildings, some light fixtures, things like that. So we will be allowing them to come in and collect those things they believe are of interest before demolition begins. And we did competitively bid the project for a contractor and awarded the contract, to Bronner Construction Company. So our next steps is to basically go back and amend the permit to identify Bronner as the contractor and finalize the application. We will begin site mobilization in mid-February. We will erect perimeter fencing around the site to make it safe. There has been a request that we keep as much of the sidewalk on the south side of 29th Street open. We will certainly look into that and do what we can, but our first and foremost responsibility is to provide a safe site to make sure that what we provide, is closed off from any pedestrian activity. So we'll get back to you on that. We will allow those salvage companies to remove the items before demolition begins. We anticipate this will be about a 6 to 8 week demolition process. And another thing that we were asked to consider was the diversion of debris into the landfill. So Bronner will haul tickets from the waste center. That includes the recycled content that is diverted, and we'll report that. We'll record that and report that. Weather permitting, our site restoration will be in place by April or May. We will install sod so that we quickly establish green space where the row houses had been. And we will protect that magnolia tree that people are very interested in. It's a beautiful tree, and we have basically a tree protection plan that our contractor will be obligated to follow. We will provide additional nighttime illumination if required. We quite frankly don't know now while the houses are there. Once they're gone, we'll assess the foot candle levels there and make any amendments to that required. We obviously are going to monitor noise, light, and dust pollution. We will make sure that we are basically following best practices. And one thing just I should mention here, we also have an industrial hygienist as part of the contractor team. We've done a high-level survey where we could for hazardous materials before we started this. Once we get in there as part of the contractor team, the industrial hygienist will make sure that there are no hazardous materials. If they are, they will be abated properly before construction commences. So just an aerial view, if we look at this back up to April or May, the idea with the greening of this space, this is an aerial view of what you would, what you would see. There's the Dell house, the sidewalk, the magnolia tree, and finally an eye level view showing the magnolia tree, the green space, which will be open to all. We are not putting a fence up. Our groundskeepers at Johns Hopkins University will maintain this site, and everyone is invited to use it. So that ends the presentation.
So Lee, if you have
I have
access
a question.
to that, there are some questions there, and then it sounds like we also have one from the floor.
Please.
Sharon, did you want to go ahead?
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. I have a question about how far the fencing and the green space is going to go on Maryland Avenue. Does it, if you could put that aerial view up.
Sure.
So the way I see the green space, it goes to the beginning of the existing parking lot where the school was.
So yes. So this is a parking lot. This is the School of Education building, if you can see my screen, and this is the Dell house. So it will basically encompass all the properties that have been there 5 through 19 West 29th Street.
And the only plan that you have is to make it a green space right now.
Correct. Correct.
And so the terrace box that surrounds the parking lot is not going to be disturbed. Terrace box, it's like a above ground garden. That's
where are you speaking of them?
On halfway down Maryland to the corner of Maryland and 28th and up 1/2 the block on 28th Street, surrounds the parking lot.
That will not.
It will not be disturbed, right?
Sharon, as part of this project, that will not be disturbed. I'm unaware of, I know that's, you remember when the demolition further north happened, the community put the plants around there.
Yeah.
If anything changes, I'll be sure to keep you in the loop, but this project does not involve addressing any of that.
But the same landscaping department that's caring for the terrace box garden is caring for the green space?
So our plant operations group, our groundskeepers at Hopkins will care for the green space. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Lee, do you want to just take the other questions that are in the chat?
So let me stop sharing so I can get my screen to see the questions. Okay. All right. So I'm going back to where I believe we started this conversation. Sorry, I wasn't monitoring the chat while I was talking. Okay.
That's all right.
Okay. First one seems to be, all right. How many vacant homes does Hopkins and related organizations own around the Charles Village, Waverly area? I have to admit, I don't know how many there might be in addition to the 7 that are here. The one that we do know of is the 3001 North Charles property, which we are looking into right now, how to renovate that building. There are larger buildings such as the Hopkins Inn that we own that had been used for residences at one time. We're also looking at that. Once the project is completed, how will ensure safety in students and other residents in the area? Again, if we need more lighting on this site, we will be happy to provide that. We'll certainly have our own Hopkins Patrol people, the people that you have that monitor around the campus here, as any property that we have. And we actually hope that this will enliven the use of this property. I mean, of course, at night, we want to be cognizant of the safety issues, but we don't envision this to be something that's going to be an attraction for crime. How will you determine fair and equitable housing prices for residents? Is that a question from this group? I'm not sure I'm following the. Was that a question for this presentation?
I believe it was. I'm not sure that it's necessarily for you.
Okay. 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 I don't believe that's applicable. Okay.
So is that something, Jennifer, that you can, I guess if we email that to you and we can maybe.
Yeah, I could try to get an answer to that question.
I think the next one has to do with the maintenance of traffic as well as the maintenance of walkways. And just stressing again what was shared during previous meetings about making sure that the accessible walkway is maintained.
Yes.
There's the next question is the JHU, does JHU have mechanisms in place for stopping taxes and rents rocketing, or mechanisms to counteract these effects from JHU operations in the area as a whole? Jennifer, I feel like that's something that has to come from a different area, not real estate. So
yeah,
we'll get that. Let's see. All right. So the next one is, will those welcome in the green space include those who use the former building as a space to sleep? Is JHU planning assistance to those folks considering the benefits the university anticipates deriving from this project? And I think, you know, what someone is speaking about, I think there are two individuals that are in one of the homes that a lot of people know about.
Yeah, we are, it's the benefit of having great partners as far as the benefits district. You know, we've been reaching out to them for some assistance connecting with the mayor's office, and certainly we've been reaching out to the mayor's office to make sure that, you know, we are appropriately, you know, talking to the individuals who are residing or in the past had been residing in the row homes. And certainly, you know, that's been our posture. You know, we don't have a strong approach to it. We definitely want to partner with the folks that have the resources to give them some of the services that they can benefit from.
I think the next one might also be for you, Jennifer. It's just, again, a question about, could you share all the information about JHU, all JHU properties? Would like to see the big picture. So.
Okay.
There's a question here for the Dell House.
So that one's easy because you addressed me, Paul. Thank you. Yes, look, the Dell House, someday we will redevelop that site. You know, we will do that. I cannot tell you today what the plan is because, quite frankly, we don't have one. But that is something that will happen at some point. And I think that's something that's a good thing for all of us, that enlivening that side of the Wyman Park Dell with activity and people would be just a terrific thing. But yes, that will happen someday.
Would you think it would be torn down and replaced, or would you rejuvenate the building that exists?
Paul, actually, you faded out there. Could you repeat that, please?
Beg your pardon. I said, would it be something that would be torn down and replaced, or would you rejuvenate the building that exists?
So that's one thing that we will certainly study. I'll just tell you, the building itself today, you know, is in somewhat disrepair, but more importantly, there's a lot of issues within it that are not compliant for, using it for houses or certainly for ADA compliance, and it's fairly inefficient if you look at the plans and the layouts. We would certainly look at that. But I think because of the building's, age and, let's face it, some people would say lack of attractiveness, it's probably something that would be replaced.
Thank you, Lee.
Thanks, Paul.
Jennifer, I think the next question is just who's the correct person to email about, additional questions and questions focused on the number of vacant properties. If you could put that in the chat. Someone just awareness about folks who might also be sheltering outside under the porches of those homes. And okay. And then I think I have a hand raised, Sebastian.
Yeah, thank you. Hello. I wanted to iterate if it is possible that the people from Hopkins, the people that just presented, if it is possible that, because you say that you don't know all the vacant properties that Hopkins has in the area, I said Waverly because also there is in Greenmount, I don't know if in Greenmount, but in all the area, but Waverly Main Street is working there too, who receive resources from Hopkins. So one is all the vacant properties, if it is possible that CVCD helps on that with Hopkins, and if the people that is from Hopkins could commit in sharing that information with CVCD, so then we can actually have a bigger picture and not only Hopkins. So when every particular project that Hopkins is proposing, even if it looks nice or not, you can have the big picture that Hopkins already have, but we can have it too. So that's one. And if it is not your department, still, I wanted to commit you if you could do that because you were the attendants from Hopkins. And the other is like, yeah, I don't know if, and that is a general question, does anytime Hopkins present all the projects that they have in place? Because I have been in many meetings where they present a little one, that the bicycle part, this project, the other, the police, blah, blah, blah. And it seems that only Hopkins is having a clear picture. I don't know if they can show a picture with all the projects that they have around or all the organizations that they are giving money around. I don't know, something to have the information that they have, but we don't. So whenever something in particular is discussed, we can have also the big picture. I don't know if CVCA has anytime has had that. I know that there was a big project before that. I read that, but updated 2022.
Sebastian, I'll let Jennifer get back to you. That all of the projects would not be presented during CVCA. That would be outside of our boundaries, scope, and sure enough, would take this meeting past an hour and a half. So we'll find a way, if we can help you find those things that are posted in a number of different places. And then I'll just, Sharon, if you had one more question, then after that, we'll move on.
Yeah, just quickly, in terms of the hours of operation and the noise, because oftentimes with these demolitions especially, that we want to make sure that if the neighbors are getting disturbed, that we have someone to call. And what we've always known is that the city has hours that it holds the contractors to.
Yes.
And make sure that we have someone to contact if those hours are violated. And can you refresh my memory as to what those hours are?
So the hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Jennifer, I'll let you take the question about who to contact.
That would be me. If there's any, Sharon, you know how to reach me. You got my cell phone. So if there's anything else that anything that comes up when we get to that, and certainly as we get closer to the demolition, and I'll provide more information to you, especially the most immediate neighbors about hours of operation, things of that nature that I normally do. So, but I'm your point of contact. And also, I'm just putting in the chat just so folks are want to know, like our Johns Hopkins Facility and Real Estate website actually lists all of the active projects that we are currently working on at the Homewood campus and around. So.
Okay, thank you both for being here. I'm now gonna put the
Miller, how do I get my hand down?
Don't worry about it. I'll make note. Don't worry, you're fine.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Janice, let's talk about membership renewal.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a nice crowd tonight. We've got more than 50 people, which is significantly more than we've had the last couple of meetings. So I appreciate you attending. And we're still in our membership renewal season. We have about half of our annual dues payers who have renewed. And if you're among those who haven't, I would greatly encourage you to renew your membership. You should have gotten a letter, actually probably around November, requesting your renewal. And if we've done a lot of work, thank you, Beth, very much, on the website recently to make it a lot easier to renew or to become a new member through the website, and that's charlesvillage.net. There's a link at the top called membership. If you just click on that link, you'll be taken to a membership form, and then you can pay your dues through PayPal or with a credit card. So it's pretty easy. And if you're one of those people that it's a pain to pay every year and you know you're going to be a long-term resident, I would encourage you to become a sustaining member. It's $100 for 10 years versus $150 for 10 years if you pay annually. So that's, I know it's a bigger chunk out of pocket initially, but it saves you the money of renewing as we move along year to year, and also you won't get those letters from me every year. So anyway, if you haven't renewed, and I encourage you to renew. If you're not a member yet, I encourage you to join. We do a lot of good work, and it does take money to continue with these events and everything that we try to do for the community. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.
Janice, one question for you. Someone wants to know, where can they go to check and see if they renewed this year or not?
Put your name in the chat and I will check and get back to you.
All right, I think that was Michael in there. So, and
or you can, right. And then you can send an email to me at janicedavis1221@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And I will get back to you. Thank you very much for that question.
Okay, John, you want to talk events? What do you got? What do you got planning? I know it's cold, but you're already getting stuff going.
Yes, and let me just recap a couple things we did last month. Actually, what we try to do as the events committee is to come up with informal opportunities for neighbors to get to know one another outside of community meetings. And last month, we hosted 2 hot chocolate pop-ups and the first annual Charles Village Holiday Lighting Contest. And with the lighting contest, we got a late start, but encouraged residents to sign up to participate. We had a voting period of like 6 days or so, 6 or 7 days, and people could go around and look at some of the homes that were decorated with lights. We had a couple different categories. We had traditional holiday lights, best Baltimore theme, and most original. And we had small cash prizes that we offered. 2701 North Calvert received the most votes for the most traditional lighting display. 309 East 31st Street was awarded second place, and 2712 Guilford Avenue was third. The best Baltimore was 2525 Guilford Avenue, and most original was 2700 North Calvert Street. And in addition to that, people got to vote on the best block, and the 300 block of East 31st Street had a very high level of participation. It looked like at least 80% of the homes were decorated. So they got 4 cases of beer from Peabody Heights Brewery for a future block event. In addition to that, we had some door prizes, and we awarded gift certificates at random to the households that participated, including things like gift certificates for the Charles Village Pub or Karma's Cafe, Local Color Flowers, Busboys and Poets. So anyway, we plan to do it again this year. We're going to start earlier. We're going to get more businesses, our business members involved, so we have more door prizes to award at random. And we will be letting you know next fall to spread the word. In addition to that, we are working on current events for this coming spring, summer, and fall. And presently, I'm working with the Waverly Main Street for a Waverly Commons Thursday night music series from mid-April through mid-June, adjacent to the site of the Waverly Farmers Market. We're also working on Friday nights in the beer garden at Peabody Heights Brewery from May through October. One thing I should point out, all of these events are open to everyone, regardless of age, and they are free. And we're fortunate that some of the work that Waverly Main Street is doing behind the scenes, they are lining up food vendors for each of the concerts. So that's great because though we have nearby restaurants, some people don't like to leave the event to go get food, so they won't have to. We're also going to do a number of pop-ups and block parties around Charles Village again this year, and we look forward to working with residents to plan things on your particular blocks. And hopefully we will work with the Friends of Wyman Park Dell to have additional concerts in the park again this year. In addition to that, I think the ambassador program that the Charles Village Community Benefits District is putting together sounds like that might provide some opportunities for us to have additional events targeted for people that might be interested in being ambassadors to bring out their neighbors and enjoy some music. So if anyone would like to put together an event on their block, feel free to reach out to me. It's my email address I'll put in the chat. It's myname@gmail.com. And if you know any businesses that would be interested in sponsoring events, we certainly would appreciate any suggestions there. If anyone has any questions, certainly feel free to ask, but I'll go ahead and put my email address in the chat as well.
Thanks, John, for all the hard work. And I think any day now, we're going to get you into wedding planning. I mean, you have all the components, so.
I've DJ'd hundreds of weddings, and ours was a very small one because I prefer to avoid that kind of stuff, but thank you.
Do we have any of the other board members who chair a committee that you want to give a report out before we move to Emil? Anybody?
I have a real quick thing.
Sure.
Hi, everybody. This is Beth Tone. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm co-chair of the Outreach Committee. I am putting a quick survey in the chat and invite people to go and let us know how you heard about the meeting tonight. It's a quick one-question survey. And interested, we're trying to make sure that we advertise across many channels and get the word out, and that we're just continuing to update our different platforms and make our information more timely and relevant for the community. So appreciate it. And you can always reach out to communityinfo@charlesvillage.net. I can put that in there too. If you have questions or recommendations for other ways that we can reach more people in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Any other board members chairing committees want to report out?
Just as it relates to safety and security, just a couple of tips just to remind everyone as we want to pass the word out that please don't leave your valuables visible in your vehicles. For a lot of folks, their cars are basically their mobile offices, and sometimes we get a little lackadaisical in terms of leaving our possessions back invisible in our cars. So just remind folks, please don't leave your valuables visible in your vehicles. If you live in a neighborhood where you have porches, and your neighbor happens to get a delivery, if you can't reach your neighbor, then please be a nosy enough of a neighbor to actually move those packages over to where they can't be visible from the street. A big thing, please don't, and the final thing is please don't split, we're encouraging folks, please don't split parking spaces. Sometimes folks will park a car, there's a single vehicle in a space that's big, 2 cars, and what you're actually kind of doing, you may be forcing your neighbors or visitors to actually have to park in a different place and walk further away from their home. So we're encouraging folks, please be courteous enough to allow your neighbors to park as closely as possible to their homes. Thank you.
Okay, and Sandy, I saw you go off mute. Did you have announcements?
Yeah, yes, the Land Use Committee in partnership with the North Charles Village PUD Design Review Committee is preparing for the repeal and replace of the 25-year-old ordinance, city council ordinance that created the North Charles Village PUD, which has brought you all the good stuff that you see in the 31, 32, and 3300 block of St. Paul Street and around in that area. So it will be a city council ordinance that our illustrious councilwoman Odette Ramos will be sponsoring, and it's going through a very collaborative process to create it. We also have one other project, big project that's happening, and that is going to be the expansion of the Peabody Heights apartments in the unit block of 27th Street. There will be an addition built that will more than double the size of number of residents for affordable housing.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. I am now going to turn the floor over to Emil Volchek, who would like to talk about JHU Police Department. Be able to share if you would like to.
We just got here in time for that.
All right. Miller, thank you very much for giving me time in the program. My name's Emil Volchek, and I'm a CVCA member and a member of the Able Improvement Association, AIA. And tonight I'm representing the AIA's committee to oppose the Johns Hopkins Police Department, and I'd like to present a report. I'm going to present, and please.
On camera. No.
Can people see a title slide?
We have it.
Great, thank you. All right, so overview and main questions. How did we get here? What's the recent history of JHPD? Does data could we people mute? Does data support the need for private armed police? Third, do any neighborhoods near Homewood support JHPD? And fourth, what are ways neighborhoods can oppose JHPD? So first, recent history. 2019, state law authorized Johns Hopkins University to create the Johns Hopkins Police Department, JHPD, a private armed police force, if the Baltimore Police Commissioner signs a memorandum of understanding, MOU, with Hopkins to permit this. In April of that year, the AIA membership voted to oppose JHPD. In 2020, Hopkins announced a 2-year pause in the development of JHPD, and JHU also paused the accountability board for JHPD. In 2021, our association formed a committee to oppose JHPD. Hopkins hired Vice President of Safety, Dr. Branville Bard Jr. in July. Dr. Bard announced that he will lead the development and implementation of JHPD in November, and in December, Hopkins restarted the accountability board. So based on the announcement of development and implementation and the restarting of the accountability board, we believe Hopkins has at least partially ended their pause. In just this month, 5 neighborhood associations near Homewood sent a joint letter to President Daniels asking to halt further development of JHPD. All right, next question. Does data support the need for a private armed police force? This graphic kindly provided by Christina Williams with the Benefits District shows Part 1 crimes within the Benefits District. Part 1 crimes being a certain class of 10 crimes: burglary, robbery, aggravated assault, vehicle theft, all the way up to homicide. And this shows approximately 38% decrease, a long-term decrease in Part 1 crimes in Charles Village from 2013 up to 2020.
Emil, I'm not sure if you need to press something else, but it's blank for me. Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Thank you. Sometimes the graphic doesn't load. Appreciate that. So this shows a 38% decrease in crime from about 2013 to 2020. And note that in the last 2 years, the decrease coincides with the increased presence of unarmed security in the Benefits District. Now, that unarmed security may possibly have contributed to this drop, but coincidence and correlation are not causation. What this chart does do is it disproves the idea that private armed police is needed or necessary to produce a decrease in crime. Incidentally, there is also a similar drop in Part 1 crimes in the Eastern District around the medical campus. Third, do any neighborhoods around Homewood support JHPD? No. AIA asked nearby associations about their position on JHPD and have yet to find one in favor. The 5 opposed are AIA, Greater Remington, Harwood, Old Goucher, and Waverly Improvement Association. Those currently having no position are Better Waverly, CVCA, this illustrious association, and Oakenshaw. We found none in support. We also contacted Tuscany, Canterbury, and Wyman Park and have not received responses. It's the 5 associations listed there that sent the joint letter to President Daniels. This map shows a graphic of where the associations are that oppose Johns Hopkins Police Department. And you'll see
I think it loaded, Emil. There we go. Thank you.
So in the Northeast, we've got Waverly Improvement Association. Moving southwest, you see Able. South of that is Harwood. Moving southwest, you've got Old Goucher, and then west of that is Greater Remington. All right, last question. What can neighborhoods do to oppose JHPD? There are many ways, but we think 3 ways are probably the most significant. First, convince city government or Baltimore Police Department not to sign an MOU. Second, convince Hopkins to change course, perhaps seeking to use unarmed security rather than armed police in increasing ways. And third, repeal the state law enabling the Hopkins Police Department. I'm just one member of CVCA, but if you think that CVCA should take a position, please communicate that to leadership and ask for more time for discussion at your next meeting. I'd like to thank you for your attention. This is my email address, volchik@acm.org. You can text or call me at 443-791-9910. And I will now conclude the presentation. Again, thank you for your attention.
So we had a couple comments in the chat, and I think one was resolved. It was about the stats and the time frame of your crime stats versus the Northern District. So we know that the Northern District reported on 1 month, you went over 7 years or so. Don't see that we have any other questions. I was just going to ask real quick. So Old Goucher gave you an opposition letter? Is that right?
Yes, Kelly Cross, old president of Old Goucher Community Association, confirmed their opposition to JHPD and signed on to the joint letter.
And did they have a community meeting to gather that information, or when did they? I'm just curious. Do you know how they got that letter?
I'm afraid I don't know. I haven't been to their meetings, but I know that Kelly Cross affirmed their opposition to JHPD and then confirmed it subsequently by email. So all I can say is that we have his assurance.
Okay, Christina Williams, I see a hand.
You asked the question that I was going to ask about Old Goucher holding a meeting. Not that I believe that it would change the outcome of their opposition, but just concerned because we've been getting a lot of concerns from neighbors that Old Goucher doesn't meet and has not met since 2019, and neighbors aren't actually being represented by the leadership in that community. So we're going to keep trying to do our best to connect with them, and anyone who is also trying to reach out to them, just let us know. We can connect them as we're getting information, but have not been able to do so over the course of the last 2 years.
And then Emil, there's a question for you there, if you want to take that question.
I think Michael Wilkins, hi Emil, one thing I've been wondering, community members' definition of armed. Do members seem to be okay with non-lethal solutions, taser, pepper spray, et cetera, which is a step up from current security systems, or do they mean no weapons of any kind? My sense from the discussions we've had within AIA, and that's just speaking for us, is we were thinking of guns, that we don't want more guns on the street, but we never actually considered that question. But it's a good one. Thank you.
Okay.
Other questions in the chat? Can someone check?
Yeah, I don't see any others. And so I think that everyone has your email address, and we can go from there. So at this time, because we're running over, we have 13, 14, and 15, which is, do we have any new business announcements or public comment? I'm going to ask for that. Anyone? Oh, wow. Well, I'll go ahead.
I got some.
Ahead.
I've been in touch with Leisha at the Village Learning Place, and the spaghetti disco is not going to happen this year, but we're talking about some sort of event, possibly at a venue like our house, where instead of having spaghetti, you'd eat the food at our house. The problem is that the board at VLP does not want to have a big communal eating situation. So we may move on and do something this year, like the spaghetti list disco at our house or something like that. So I'll keep you all informed about that.
I love it. Spaghetti list disco. Anyone else with announcements?
I do, just real quick, putting my other hat on. As many of you know, I'm the chair of the president of the 29th Street Community Center, which is a brand new nonprofit that has taken over the management and operation of the 29th Street Community Center. I am very pleased to announce that this evening we made an offer for a new executive director to take over the helm of the organization. As you know, Minju had left the center at the end of December, and so we had a search committee that was put together, including Christina Williams, Delegate Boyce, Ivory, who was on here. So I want to acknowledge their hard work over the last couple of months. But at the beginning of March, we will have Maya Hodge will be our new executive director. So hot off the press, we're really, truly excited about everything. We'll have more of a formal announcement, but I wanted to share the good news, and we're just incredibly excited about this new chapter for the organization.
Great, thank you. And we're going to take Ivory and then Kush, and we will probably be at time. Ivory, did you have any announcements? Okay.
So I'll be brief, so we can stay on track with time. I just wanted to let the community know that Barkley Elementary Middle School, we are still trying to navigate the school year in a COVID-friendly way. We are still testing twice a week. We are part of the pilot program for Test to Stay, trying to keep as many of our youth in school as possible. We already have an attendance problem. Our parents are terrified to send their kids to school, which creates a huge attendance problem. And for my role there, that's something that is very concerning for me. And part of what I'm trying to do is break the barriers down for the greater community. We are working on a GED program, English as a second language class. And we're also working towards an employment soft skills workshop. So I'm looking for volunteers. Anyone, please email me. I'll put my email in the chat so that you can reach out to me if you're interested in supporting Barclay in their efforts to reach the greater community and just try to reach the needs of some of our parents. We just finished our coat drive. We did coats, shoes, hats, and gloves for, I'm going to say, easily 80 children, and not just the kids at Barclay. We're talking about the family. So some of the parents, they don't have coats, because they're sacrificing for their children. So we try to look out for everyone, not just the students. So again, if you're looking to volunteer, please contact me. And that's it for me.
Thank you so much. Kush, you're the last one.
Thanks. My name is Kush, and I'm a JHU alum, and I just wanted to speak briefly about the opposition to Hopkins private police. I just wanted to second everything that Emil said in this presentation. And I can speak to three organizations that also oppose the police force, and those are Abel Mutual Aid and Brace over in East Baltimore, and also the Coalition Against Policing by Hopkins. And yeah, I just wanted to say that ever since the deaths of Tyrone West and LeVar Douglas at the hands of University Police here in Baltimore, there's been a huge opposition to that. And also in the bill that was filed last year's session at the Maryland General Assembly, the JHU PD repeal bill was submitted by Joe Carter, and there were 118 written testimonies in favor of that repeal and only 9 testimonies in support of Hopkins Police. And also there was a referendum conducted by the Student Government Association of undergraduate students, and it found that 75% of undergrads were opposed to the police force. So there's no community consent for this. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for hanging in there. It is 8:40. We had a very productive meeting, and thank you everyone for being here. I look forward to doing this again March 30th, and enjoy the rest of your evening.